gentlemen, and welcome to this third day of Peace City World Congress 23. We are going to launch this day with a message from Lord Waverley from the House of Lords, UK Parliament. Lord Waverley.
Miss not to underline how much I regret not being in Salamanca, and to present my respects to the President of Salamanca Provincial Council, the Alcalde, the Rector of your prestigious university, to engage with the Cámara de Comercio, and the Peace City World team, of course, including all those there present. Fortunately, the ails of the season have caught up with me, making it impossible to take the flight to Madrid. So kindly accept my contribution this morning as though I was with you. Salamanca is a global gem that fully reflects the proud heritage of your country. In addition, I congratulate the founders and the local authorities of your smart city vision that brings us together today. Your plans could undoubtedly become the beacon by which around the world advance their thinking on the subject. There is no bigger trend globally than the move to urbanization. By 2050, it is expected that 3/4 of the world's population will live in cities, with nearly 200,000 people making that transition every day. City living presents unique opportunities and challenges, with smart cities melding digital technology and data to monitor, manage, and improve the urban environment to harness those unique opportunities. I do not need to remind you that here is no absolutely definition of a smart city, no endpoint. Rather, it is a process or series of steps in which cities become more livable and resilient, so able to respond quicker to new challenges. Government should recognize the need to support the development of smart cities as part of the industrial strategy in the interests of economic growth, including combating climate change and having a role in creating and influencing everything from transport, energy, and communications. Core principles of putting the consumer and the citizens at the center of smart cities vision is what is required. The principles of a strategy should include new modes of transport and new mobility services. Smart city projects, with some preferring reference to connected cities, that is what they become, will be tailored to the requirements of your city, raising productivity, creating jobs, improving on safety, providing environmental benefits, and making public services more efficient and accessible to create affordable, sustainable futures. Care should be taken, however, to not place all focus on technology, but on people and users. How are the people going to live, work, shop, and play in the cities of the future? What services will they require? How will they grow their food and consume goods and services? What healthcare will they need? Smart cities should be considered from the perspective of the users first and the technology second, not pushing the technologies of today onto the people of tomorrow. The users of these smart cities may be at school currently or not even born yet. Retrofitting existing cities can be more challenging. It does provide opportunities to use existing technology, infrastructure, and assets in more innovative ways, be solving existing problems, not creating new ones. Consideration, however, should be on the social and economic impact of technological gaps opening up in cities, towns, and villages that are not smart, with the many stakeholders working collaboratively and not exclusively for profit. If there is a mandated warehouse consolidation center for a city, for example, who's going to run it? What incentives do people have to use it? And how are businesses compensated that depend on revenues earned by providing logistics to those cities, and with sustainability as to how smart devices such as sensors be manufactured, maintained, and disposed of? Will the technology have an adverse impact on the city? Considerations such as who is going to fund the capital investment for the technology and over what time period. As the number of devices and technologies grow, alongside people's resilience upon them, the implications for cybersecurity and hacking presents risks digitally and physically for the population of your city, ensuring privacy and autonomy of the individual inhabitants of Salamanca must be respected and preserved, and how data will be used for day-to-day operations with care being taken not to cross the line into surveillance and exploitation of the individual. What is the impact if the technology fails? Creating an economy that harnesses artificial intelligence and big data is one of the great challenges of our age. We must ensure that our communities are aware of the new technology, understanding how it will improve their lives, and put in place appropriate consultation about the data usage that can come from it. The critical need to ensure that the lives of disabled people are better met. Smart cities should be the center of any strategy, placing the needs of disabled people at the heart of a vision from the very beginning is critical. Local authorities should ensure that it takes inclusivity absolutely to heart. Walking, cycling, and active travel must remain the best options for short urban journeys, and with new mobility services leading the transition towards zero emissions. When we talk about smart cities, smart towns, and smart villages, I would extend this further to smart houses, smart dining rooms, and smart living rooms, so that we are all able to meet zero targets on carbon emissions by 2050. Another field that can contribute greatly to the development of smart cities is robotics, in addition, the whole agri-tech industry having advanced in rural technology and emerging technologies. We have the opportunities to use that research to benefit rural communities. I had the opportunity to see firsthand this week how robotics can play a key role in the supply chain, for example. I would encourage any government to commit to spending on research and development. Countries as the United States, Germany, South Korea, and China spending considerably more than the UK. That allows them to make advances and must be matched. SMEs should be convinced to change their business models and recognize the value of research and development. It really is to government's gain to involve public institutions as well as trust the private sector, with large operators and innovative young entrepreneurs and business angels into the funding process. And with this, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, every town can be a smart town, and every village a smart village. The future is in our hands. Thank you very much, and have a very good week.
Thank you very much, Lord Waverley. Good morning, Salamanca. Good morning to those who profit from doing good. Good morning, respected nature and livable planet. Good morning, dignity and respected humanity. Good morning, better future to all. Good morning, dear guests. After 48 hours together, I hope you start feeling better connected and deeply inspired. I personally made amazing discoveries of promising initiatives by inspiring people, not only humble experts, but potential good friends. I hope you feel trust in our ability together to build a better future. I hope you feel empathy and love in this magic space in Salamanca. You saw some signatures happening on stage. We are grateful for the shared trust and willing to profit from doing good of our partners. Thinking of Sustainable Development Goal 17, we will have more partnership signatures today, many of them during the coffee break around 11. Thinking of Maslow hierarchy of needs, we already covered some basics for survival: air, water, food, and some basics for development: energy, financing. Today we will go a bit higher on Maslow's pyramid. We will touch needs for human development, starting with mobility, logistics, healthcare, and education. Your day is a success if you get to know more of really amazing people, discovering more of their brilliant initiatives and inspiring thoughts. Let's start with mobility and the future of transport. It is my honor and pleasure to invite on stage Mrs. Lin O'Grady, Associate Director and co-lead Green Cities at the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. It is my pleasure to invite Mr. Tim Goeders, CEO at Hybrid Air Transport, President at Peace City World Aviation. And I'm pleased to invite on stage Mr. Oleg Zaretskiy, CEO at US Covery. We will get that at the recording, no worries. Lin, I would just turn this a little bit so I can see you. Thank you. Can the camera see well, Mr. Tim Goeders? Yeah, you are not hidden by this one, right? Okay, good. Okay, back on recording. Mrs. Lin O'Grady, EBRD is strongly supporting green cities on many dimensions, including smart mobility. Please share with us your vision for the future of urban transportation. Okay?
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So yesterday I gave an overview of the EBRD Green Cities programme. Today, with the help of a PowerPoint presentation this time, I am going to give a presentation through the lens of what we do in the transport space. So, first of all, for those of you who were not present at the event yesterday, I am Lin O'Grady. I'm from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We are headquartered in London. We've just moved to Canary Wharf. But have a vast array of regional offices. So I described the bank yesterday as a hybrid between the World Bank and the IFC. So we invest in both the public and the private sector, and we are a regional bank. The bank was established in April 1991. It was established in the aftermath of the Berlin Wall coming down and the former Soviet Union collapse, and it has slowly spread as the years have gone by. It is a public sector bank. It's owned by 71 countries or shareholders, of which Spain is one. And I emphasized yesterday, and I want to emphasize today, Spain is a big advocate of the Green Cities program. Every time we go to the board with the Green Cities project, I can count on the Spanish director to strongly support the case. The capital base of the bank is 30 billion, and in keeping with all other IFIs, it has a AAA rating, which is extremely important. So in terms of our investments, we cover a wide geography from North Africa in the west right through to Central Asia and Mongolia in the east, down through Eastern Europe, Central Europe, through to the Western Balkans and Greece. And our top countries for investments are Turkey, Ukraine, and Egypt. And I think, actually, I see Uzbekistan there. That's a country where EBRD is very, very active at the moment, particularly in the renewable space and in the private sector space as well. So in terms of EBRD Green Cities, this is a network. It's a network of cities which span those regions that I have just talked about. You can see those regions on the map. I'm just trying to think of what is of particular interest to this audience. Of course, North Africa, and I am personally spending a lot of time in Egypt, in Morocco, in Tunisia, in Jordan, developing this program where there is strong interest, particularly in Egypt on the back of COP27. Last night I spent a lot of time and really enjoyed it with colleagues from the Western Balkans, which I really consider my second home. And Green Cities was actually pioneered in the Western Balkans, mainly because I knew it extremely well. And as a consequence, we have many green cities there. So just for an example, Belgrade, Skopje, Pristina, Tirana, Split, they are all EBRD green cities. And I think just in the east, Samarkand is a very active green city where we are presently preparing a project for e-buses to be signed at the bank's annual meeting taking place in May. So if I can just sort of step back a little bit and tell you sort of a little bit more graphically what EBRD Green Cities is all about. It is about a strategic approach. It's now grown to a 5 billion framework, and that 5 billion framework consists of the bank's own capital and also money that we have been able to secure from other organizations. And I think the standout there is the financing in a considerable amount that we have secured from the Green Climate Fund. So it has 4 key pillars. The first is these Green City Action Plans, which I spoke about yesterday. These are the strategic document that we develop with cities, or I should say, cities develop with our support to identify first their environmental challenges and then their environmental actions. They're the investments that they need to tackle those challenges. The second is, of course, investments. EBRD is a bank. we invest. And the investments cover a whole raft of activities. It's this holistic approach that I've heard mentioned many times since I've been sitting in this room. And key to that holistic approach, and it's in bold there as a consequence, is urban transport. And urban transport actually make up 40% of the total investments to date. The third component is capacity building. EBRD is a bank, but we are a capacity bank. We are like the World Bank. We go further. So we support cities to make sure they have the institutional setup to support climate goals. And the final pillar is accessing green finance. And this is working with cities who want to access the capital markets, and there it's green bonds, and this is something that we are. It's a growing area within this program. So, just sort of going back to this holistic approach, we retooled green cities in 2020, and I said yesterday, a lot of that was on the back of the COVID pandemic. A lot changed in cities during that time. Also, I think all of us had more thinking time than we normally do. So we extended it to include, I think I'll just go through that slide. First of all, to focus more on climate resilience, supporting cities to adapt to the impact of climate change. And I mentioned yesterday Alexandria, which is in North Egypt on the Mediterranean, and there we are supporting Alexandria in investing in climate resilience measures to tackle the issue of flooding and rising sea levels. We also incorporated smart technologies, and now all these Green City Action Plans have a smart maturity assessment. Third component, nature-based solutions, making sure that they are integrated into the investments. Fourth is the integration of power. When Green Cities started, it was very much on the back of the bank's traditional municipal business, the solid waste, the urban transport, the water, the district energy. And we are now seeking to make sure that we're not working in our silos and the integration of power is incorporated. Gender and inclusion, again, that's an important focus of our work on the basis that we are an IFI. It's one of the objectives of the bank. Private sector. EBRD is, at the end of the day, predominantly a private sector bank. In our regions, harnessing the private sector takes effort, it takes focus, and this is something that we can lead the way with our countries and with our cities. And finally, policy tools as well, and that GCAP is really one of the policy tools, because I forgot to mention, in addition to identifying investment actions, the GCAP also identifies policy actions as well. You know, a policy action, I'm just thinking about the GCAP in Yerevan in Armenia. One of the policy actions there was really to up the use of renewable energy, and we actually financed a project there. It was the distribution grid, and that project has within it, it's been strengthened so that renewable energy can be integrated. So that's the comprehensive approach. So going back to the Green City Action Plans, I said yesterday that this was simple, but it works. So sometimes simple is the best thing. And how the Green City Action Plan works is, first of all, we go to a city and we identify a trigger project. The trigger project is the first green, sustainable investment that the city wishes the bank to support. In parallel, we work on a Green City Action Plan, and which first of all, using a baseline of indicators, this identifies a city's environmental challenges and then the actions. What's missing from there is that we do a huge amount of stakeholder engagement. So we involve interested parties so they have a say on the investment actions. And then on the basis of that Green City Action Plan, priority investments are identified. And those investments are not just for the exclusivity of EBRD, they are for the city can finance them themselves, the government can finance, other organizations can finance that. Green City Action Plan, it's the city's document, it's not our document. So I want to give you two examples of where the Green City Action Plan has really been successful. So I will go to my second home of the Western Balkans and Bosnia and Herzegovina. I first went there in 1996, I remember it very well. Sarajevo adopted its Green City Action Plan in 2021, and you can see the environmental challenges that were identified there. It was air quality. I think if anybody has been to Sarajevo and got stuck in the fog and not been able to leave, I don't know if that's happened to anybody, but it is a common occurrence in that city. Soil quality, land use. So on the basis of that, Green City actions were identified, and thus far what EBRD has financed is a vast array of transport projects. So this includes electric trolley buses, it includes new trams, it includes tram lines as well, and together with traffic management. It's also, just going back to this holistic approach, we haven't just financed transport investments, they have dominated the investments, but in Sarajevo we've also financed energy efficiency in public buildings, we financed water. There was a huge problem of lack of water in Sarajevo in recent years, just because of bursting pipes, because of old infrastructure. And I'm actually going there in a couple of weeks' time, and we are looking at district energy. So transport has dominated, but holistic approach, very important. A second green city which has worked really well is Tbilisi in Georgia, and the Caucasus is my other second home. I've spent a lot of time there. The Green City Action Plan was one of the first to be undertaken, and it was concluded in 2017. And you can see that in green cities, the EBRD has invested 227 million, so a significant amount of money in transport projects. So these have included the acquisition of a new bus fleet, the rehabilitation of the bus depot, and for Tbilisi Metro, the purchase of new metro cars, and also most recently we've invested in the metro to make it more energy efficient, so to reduce energy consumption. Again, Georgia, it's not just transport. In Tbilisi, it's not just transport, although that has dominated. EBRD is also doing a lot of work on solid waste as well. And maybe I can just say that Tbilisi is where we first marketed green cities, and I remember walking into the office of the mayor and saying that we had this Green Cities program. And he said this is what he needed, because he had got to that position because he had said that he would be the green mayor of Tbilisi. And I think that's something that has really played to the strengths of this program as well. It's played also to mayor's political agenda, which is, it's unusual when it's not about climate ambition. So just to conclude, I want to give you just a few examples of some of the projects that we have invested in, and we focused here on the electric mobility. So the first e-bus project we financed was in Sofia, in Bulgaria. The second was in Batumi, in Georgia. And I think what's interesting to note here is what was important with this project is this blended finance that I sort of mentioned fleetingly afterwards. But for transition economies like Georgia, electric buses are expensive. So EBRD needs to blend finance to make these affordable for the city administration. And there we got a grant from E5P, which is an instrument where there are a number of, the EU and a number of governments contribute. And the final project is in Egypt. It's an e-taxi project. It's a private sector project with Abu Ghali Motors, and EBRD financed a number of e-taxis, which included e-taxis for Sharm el-Sheikh, where COP27 was undertaken, and that taxi on that screen is one that was used in Sharm el-Sheikh that had the EBRD logo on it, so everybody was seeking photo opportunities. I mean, look on the EBRD website and you will see that. I haven't got a slide on this, but just sort of picking up on discussions I listened to yesterday, there's a huge amount of work going on in EBRD about electric mobility beyond what I have there on the screen. So we are looking at micro-mobility, we're looking at battery storage, that was talked about yesterday. We are looking at this whole piece of, electric mobility is good, but make sure that the source of electricity is increasingly renewable. So getting this connection between the form of transport, the car or the bus, and the source of electricity, that's extremely important. So it's really very much work in progress by EBRD, and we are resourcing up. Hydrogen as well is something that we are developing. So very much a very active part of what we do. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope that was clear. And I don't know if we have time to play a video. I have one from Romania, or we're going to move on to the other speakers. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear Lin.
Do you want to play the video, or did I go on too long?
Can we launch the video for Lin, please?
Thank you.
So we will see with the video a little bit later, sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Mr. Tim Goeders, what are the promising innovations in transport in the near future? The mic is yours.
Is it all right if I stand?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Very good. And this is my
Yes,
green
the green
advance.
to the next.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Buenos dias. I come from the great state of Texas in America, and my colleague Danya Young will be speaking on the logistics with Peace City World. I'm the CEO of Peace City Aviation. I'm very pleased to be here in this historic city. It's beautiful, and the hospitality here has been wonderful. I thank the officials of Salamanca and the organizers of this event for the honor to come and speak to you today. Peace City World Aviation will be most open to the innovation to implement disruptive technologies as well as to support existing platforms for aviation in support of society and the development of prosperity across the world. So, prosperity, societal resilience, and a healthy environment can be compatible with modern aviation, transportation, and cargo logistics. And from this perspective, we see the Earth has no problems. Nice white fluffy clouds and beautiful green and blues. But it's really about identifying the opportunities and also identifying the vulnerabilities. So implementing proactive private-public collaborations to increase peace, prosperity, and societal resilience is our mission. Now, from our perspective, we see that the planet was affected at the macro level by the microscopic of the virus, the pandemic, COVID-19. But we were completely unprepared for the impacts and the inability to be able to respond effectively. In most cases, it took quite a long time for us to adapt to the challenges of the pandemic. But the Peace City World Aviation Logistics will be able to operate in a resilient manner to natural and man-made disasters. Here are some of the impacts of the COVID on air travel. As you can see on these charts, in 2021, the overall numbers were 47% of the 2019 levels of transportation. And the increases returning to normal are expected to be rather slow. One of those things that the COVID-19 has, as you can see at the top, it says, COVID-19 has grounded international travel as governments act to manage and maintain the spread of coronavirus. Consequently, when the private sector, commercial aviation, responds to government regulations, the effect of that was that 1/3 of all existing aircraft on the commercial side were retired permanently due to the unknown length of duration of the pandemic, as they were in their last trimester of useful service. Others that were put into storage had a very expensive process to refurbish them before they could go back into commercial service. Consequently, many of the secondary and tertiary markets have still not recovered and regained their full air travel. And this also affects not just air travel for passengers, but for cargo. So the COVID impacts on families and businesses was quite severe. Most families and businesses did not have the capital resources to effectively maintain their standards of living or operations. So with more than 50% of the households in the emerging and advanced economies were not able to sustain basic consumption for more than 3 months in the event of income losses. Now, governments often, where able, they were trying to supplement the lost incomes, but as you can be probably aware, that was not sufficient for the length of duration or the severity of the impact. Similarly, the average business could cover fewer than 55 days of expenses with cash reserves. So many businesses have closed or gone out of business. Not only are we affected by pandemics and things like that, but in Europe, for example, we have the occasional rare event where we have an Iceland volcanic eruption that affected air transportation more than 10 years ago. So within this data here, you can see that the ash had forced the cancellation of about 4,000 of the 20,000 daily flights across Europe. The financial impact of just canceling 20% of those flights was effectively $200 million a day. Entire airports were shut down for an extended length of time, and the result of this was that air travel around the world was also affected because of incoming flights and the cancellation of outgoing flights. So we have to have platforms that can actually operate within such events, whether it's volcanic ash or other extreme events. And Peace City World will have those platforms. Here we have a representation, this is an oversimplified representation of the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which is approximately 93,000 miles. So, coronal mass emission is what we're looking at here. And smart cities that are relatively new in their concepts are often no better prepared in their development than existing cities, because as modern technologies have come along, particularly in the last 150 years, there was little awareness of the impacts on electronic technologies for such events as a coronal mass emission from the sun. In 1859, there was a series of such events that were so severe that you could see the northern lights all the way down to the equator. But for electronics, the only real electronic system at the time was the telegraph. However, with modern technologies, in 2013, Lloyd's of London and the Agency for Atmospheric and Environmental Research determined that in just affecting the U.S. economy itself, they estimated that between $698 million and $3.2 billion, trillion dollars of damage would be the impact in 2021 dollars. But don't be misled. This effect from the sun, these events, have the ability to be much stronger. In fact, there have been data collected from these events that indicate that up to 10 times stronger event is possible and has occurred within recent history in the last 2,000 years. So here's an example of the electromagnetic spectrum. Everything from radios to nuclear power and visible light is within the electromagnetic spectrum. So the modern societies of technologies depend on the EMS. It's highly vulnerable to disruption, and unless protected, and few are protected now, but there's processes underway in the United States to do such protections, and my colleague and I, we work at this point with models for hardening airports and intermodal hubs as the first step in doing this, and connecting those hardened facilities back to municipal critical civilian infrastructure as well, so that in the event of something like this happening, society can continue and survive. The COVID pandemic, as bad as it was, had less than a 1% mortality rate. If a black sky event occurs that disrupts the electromagnetic spectrum technologies, within 12 months you would have a 95% mortality rate. So the notion of logistics has been, up until the COVID pandemic, a just-in-time, highly efficient movement of goods and services. But what the pandemic actually exposed is that we need to have a just-in-case model, pre-positioned materials, and the ability to operate even after such events. So with built-in and retrofitted at airports, ports, cities, smart cities and villages, the logistics and transportation must have a continuity of operations. So in order to make these secure energy generation, transmission, and consumption, it also must include communications and financial transactions. As we become more highly dependent on all things in the technology realm that use electronics, it becomes even more critical that we do these hardening and secure operations. So the new natural disaster, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief capacities, and national emergency response, recovery, restoration capabilities with new short takeoff and landing and vertical takeoff and landing aviation, including hospital airships that have the ability to provide surge capacity and capabilities into disaster zones, as well as to support medical operations during pandemics. And unmanned aerial vehicle platforms that P-City World and others will operate. So these are some of the platforms that have intrinsic operational advantages or capacities that we don't have right now that we could. And so complementing the existing platforms that are out there that we rely on today. One would be the heavy lift cargo airships that would have tremendous efficiencies and bring transportation and logistics to zero emission or even below zero emission, while adding capacities that we don't have today. In the upper right-hand corner, you see a blended wing concept from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, in the United States. And here's another legacy platform below that was actually the concept for this type of autogyro was invented by a Spanish citizen. And then we have the new modern age of efficiencies and technology coming along with urban air mobility vehicles, with electrified power, inducted fans that will have the ability to be scaled up or down in size and use modern technology batteries and power systems to achieve these kinds of efficiencies. So by reaching this zero or below zero emissions, we'll need advanced platforms, advanced materials, advanced power, and sustainable aviation fuels during the transition. These advanced technologies can be applied to other industrial sectors as the technology applications and inventions actually apply to everything from electric vehicles and the electric grids with ultra-conductive materials and secure electronics, switch gears, transformers, and things like this that are able to prevent being affected by electromagnetic pulse events or geomagnetic disturbances. So with those materials, this offers a lot of opportunity for industry as well as for the education of young people. In a city like Salamanca with two famous universities, the young people would be very well accepted now in these sorts of advanced technology fields, as Spain itself has made the commitment for investments in advanced battery technologies toward the electric vehicle markets. So as well as the advanced platforms, we have advanced unmanned aerial vehicles, urban air transport, which would be like air taxis, these short takeoff and landing and vertical takeoff and landing advanced configurations with the hangar infrastructures. This is going to be key. It's the chicken and the egg problem. Do the technologies come along first with the platforms, or do you have to have the facilities to manufacture them? And actually both should take place simultaneously to support ODAL. Now, according to the economic constraints and challenges of the future, unrelated to these platforms that I just showed you, but it applies to the same terminologies on the need for resilience. So the World Economic Forum, these are direct quotes. So the public and private investment must collaborate now. Companies should analyze supply chains now to mitigate these future disruptions. Trade wars, global politics, and national policies will influence the future of our supply chains. This is very important because during the COVID pandemic, when we had a loss of supply chain causing extremely high prices for limited materials that could be transported around, particularly medical equipment, to avoid those kind of economic shocks, we have to have these resilient systems. The supply chains are, as reviewed, developments in technology and sustainability should also be considered. At the same time, new logistics considerations may also have an impact on supply chains and changes there too. Thank you very much. I'll be available after our presentation today to take your questions in private. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Tim. Dear Oleg Zaretskiy, you are the CEO of US Covering. Would you share with us your vision of challenges and reality for sustainable and smart city transport?
I will.
Thank you.
Yes. Good morning to everybody. Maybe my speech will not be so pleasant because of my English and some ideas that I will now bring to you, but still, let's do this. So, should it start? So, speaking about smart and sustainable city, we cannot avoid the issue of transportation and mobility. Actually, this is the key point, and the ability to overcome distances in the shortest possible time is one of the distinctive features of our civilization and certain condition for further development and growth. And transport accessibility in main things, thanks to the first settlements emerged. Actually, first settlements, they emerged because of the transport accessibility. Half an hour that people require to reach their work, their office, their friends, is the time that provides comfortable living for everybody. So just to prove it, when people walked, for example, the overall dimensions of the settlement were limited to 2-3 kilometers. When horses and carts appeared, the size of the city grew to 10-20 kilometers, which was London, for example, in the Middle Ages. And in the 20th century, the size of cities grew to 20-30 kilometers due to appearance of cars and buses that makes the same half an hour of traveling to any of the destination in the city. But now, in the 21st century, what we observe, the complete collapse of urban transport system due to road congestions and due to traffic accidents and due to some other points. So the permanent growth of cars led to the fact that now, for example, the average speed of public transport in Berlin is something around 6 kilometers per hour, and in Washington is around 3 kilometers per hour. And this is lower than the pedestrian speed. It means that now our cities have lost a comfortable living environment, and road transport can no longer cope with its main task. In future, this problem will only become even worse because more and more new areas are being rolled up with asphalt and concrete, and still the growth in the number of cars is many times ahead of the required road construction. Sustainable smart city developers like Peace City World should reconsider this challenge again and again, looking for a solution. But the whole question is what price we are willing to pay for the opportunity for mobility, and will the existing modes of transport, including electrical vehicles, will be they able to meet the requirements of new generation settlements, and how we want new sustainable city to look like in the future. So many companies, many persons, many parties nowadays, they use sustainable city, ecological points, and other things just to getting sales for marketing persons, to get some political, maybe sometimes, benefits. But when you start go deeper and deeper into the problem, you can understand that it's not easy to find such solutions, truly ensuring the transportation of people and cargo, especially on the priorities of ecology, innovation, comfort, and safety. The problem is that even when such solutions are found, it is extremely difficult to reach implementation stage. Also, there are advantages, and what the most important, their total matching to the requirements of new cities are obvious. 50 years ago, the scientist and philosopher Dr. Anatoly Unitsky invented a new type of suspended transport, which is called string transport. All these years, the scientist has devoted himself to the development of suspended string transport technology, having gone from calculations and drawings to fully fledged operating lines, creating, in fact, a new transport industry branch. Currently, I am sure, and I will prove it here, that suspended string transport is the transport of a new generation, the transport of the future, the transport completely suitable for new, sustainable, and smart city. Let's figure why. Nowadays, it is almost unanimously considered that the future belongs to electric vehicles, electric buses. They mentioned a lot of electric buses. But we forget that electric vehicle, electric car, electric bus, they occupy the same place on the asphalt. So, and they carry the same number of passengers. So, this means that there is no any solution towards the transportation problem with the traffic jam. And there is no any difference between modern cities jammed with petrol cars and future cities critically overcrowded with electric vehicles. So we are just changing one vehicle to another, but traffic jams will be still there. So, and this means that in order to find solution, we have again to put thousands of kilometers of additional asphalt, additional concrete, but again, I am sure that this is not solution and this is not way out. Even exhaust gases issue could be scrutinized in a different way. Exhaust gases containing dozens of cancerogens are also emitted by electrical vehicles, but at power plant. And even more hazardous waste is generated at factories that produce and utilize lithium batteries. So more and more electrical cars we will have, it means that more and more hazardous to nature we will provide. And again, and of course, one more thing, that electrical cars, they will get into traffic accidents exactly in the same way as just normal petrol cars. So they get in traffic accident, they maim and they kill people. They are driving by the same drivers who can fall asleep at the wheel or, drunk drive, for example. So it means that the genius nature of Anatoly Yunitsky's solution is related to idea of transferring all transport trajectories to the second level, located above the surface of the Earth. Suspended string transport practically does not occupy the land surface, so it is not necessary to cut down trees and forests, to lay down asphalt on the grass and flowers for its passage. The autonomous character of unmanned electric vehicle on steel wheels, which are collectively recognized as U-pods, will make smart cities not only smart in terms of transport, but also really safe. There are no pedestrians, there are no children that are running across the road, there are no other personal cars, there are no bicycles, because our transport travels on the second level. And it is controlled by multi-level automatic control system that provides U-pod electric vehicles with real autonomy and safety. Moving with steel wheels on steel suspended in the air steel rails, again, against minimum resistance to movement, U-pod electric car is at least 5 times more efficient than a conventional electric car that travels on asphalt with rubber tires. Exceptional U-pod's aerodynamic shape also reduces energy consumption when driving. So now, attention, please. U-pod is eco-friendly not because it has electric traction. It has. But it is eco-friendly because it consumes much less energy when performing similar transportation work than a conventional electric car. Suspended string transport gives sustainable and smart cities a chance to leave land for setting up parks, lawns, sport facilities, and preserving historical destinations. Already the area of more than 5 Britain islands has been rammed with asphalt and railway on this planet. Yunitsky technology has potential to bring this land back to people, since the withdrawal of land allocation for suspended string transport is 100 times less than we require to build a road. It is important, of course, that new technologies would be accessible and commercially feasible. So I will not name projects that are still just that are left in the words and nice pictures because of their technical impracticability and commercial price. So our system, the suspended string transport, will cost new cities times, I repeat, not 10%, 20% less. It will cost times less than just simple tram or ordinary light rail overpass. Of course, with other equals. If compared with traditional roads with railways, bridges, flyovers, and passes, the material consumption of a suspended string rail transport overpass is 100 times less. You can see that we don't require these huge concrete structures, we don't require bridges, and our material consumption will be much less. The construction of Unitsky transport and infrastructure complex does not require huge investments associated with significant excavation works, the relaying of communications, the construction of bridges, overpasses, interchanges, pedestrian crossings, hydraulic structures. Suspended string transport will move at an average speed 60-80 kilometers per hour and will be the fastest public transport on the planet. For example, London Underground has average speed around 45 kilometers per hour. And this means that, again, less energy is consumed to move, fewer vehicles are needed to transport the same number of passengers. Suspended string transport technology provides solutions to all transport problems in an easier and cheaper way than anything that market can offer today. The possibility of solving problems using Unitsky technology has been practically proven and tested in certification center in Sharjah, in United Arab Emirates. And I invite all of you to come to test. We will give you right, you will board the future. And now we are building 2 more lines with the total length 5 kilometers that will move not only heavy buses, but that will move also containers, because there are also solutions for container cargo transportation, creation of terminal-free seaports where containers will move directly from the ship to the dry inland container terminal. Due to this, public roads will not be overloaded with heavy trucks. All logistics will be carried out automatically, and all the land under the suspended string transport line will be used for its intended purposes. At the final stage of development, there is a high-speed U-Pod that you can see the model on our table downstairs. It can move with speed up to 500 kilometers per hour, at the same time being environmentally friendly, safe, and economical. Again, it's available in Sharjah, so you can come and you can see. Summing up, I want to say that there are already ready-made solutions to the challenges that developers of future sustainable smart cities face today. But still, all such developers like Peace World City and others, they should have ability to see new developments, to evaluate them, and to have certain risk to apply them, because as any new technologies. In conclusion, I want to know that our group, that includes more than 20 companies, we look to the future with confidence, because under leadership of brilliant scientists, we have created a new branch of industry that can help humanity make a technological breakthrough, like that railways made in 19th century and cars in the 20th century. And here we are not limited only to the field of transport. New settlements could be set up and new generation of buildings could be built, and they could be connected with our string transport. In time, given me to make this speech, the time does not allow more detailed description of innovations, but I ask everyone to watch a very short video about future liner cities. Again, it is development of Dr. Unitsky and our group of companies. and how suspended string transport technology will work in this kind of sustainable and smart cities for the benefit of those who will live there and in the interest of all our mankind.
Being away from the hustle and bustle of the city, commuting with nature, but at the same time enjoying all the benefits of civilization and using your time most effectively. This is possible only by overcoming global problems of our time, such as overpopulation of cities, environmental pollution, historically outdated infrastructure. Linear cities, UCities, allow you to combine a healthy environment with high levels of comfort and transport accessibility, opening the way to the lifestyle of the future. The construction of new type settlements is carried out according to the logic of smart city, in which land belongs to pedestrians and plants. The basis of the linear city is pedestrian clusters with the low-rise buildings. Green roof houses are energy-independent systems that provide residents with electricity, heat, and food. Each cluster is designed to comfortably accommodate up to 5,000 inhabitants on its territory and has one or several relic solar bioelectric power plants. Bioelectric power plants, along with the generation of energy, are capable of producing up to 50,000 tons of humus per year from coal and shale waste. These products are in great demand in the world and can become a key element in the development of the colossal export potential of any territory. A distinctive element of each linear cities cluster is a multi-purpose dominant building with a built-in station of the Unitsky String Technologies transport system. If necessary, these systems can connect the cluster with the city next to which it will be built, and provide high transport accessibility as well as ensure integration into the existing infrastructure. Power, information, and other utilities can be placed in the string rail's body, the know-how of which is protected by patents of the developer company. Currently, the technologies that are part of the UCities are implemented on the territory of research centers in Belarus and the United Arab Emirates. 6 types of innovative buildings have been built and are being successfully operated. 6 types of elevated communication overpasses and more than 10 fundamentally different models of passenger and cargo rolling stock have been erected. All types of the transport, technologies and know-hows were created thanks to the many years of work of the engineer Anatoly Unitsky and his company. UCities can become a powerful, innovative driver of economic development based on the introduction of natural technologies into industrial, residential, and transport infrastructure, power industry, and agriculture. In the future, linear cities will be tens, hundreds, and even thousands of kilometers long. They will harmoniously fit into any existing natural landscape, preserve regional and global ecosystems, and allow efficient development of remote and inaccessible territories, setting a new standard of settlement that meets the challenges of the 21st century.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Oleg, for offering alternative mobility solutions that are more eco-friendly. You also kindly plan to offer a gift to the City World.
Yes.
So let me invite our chairman, Mr. John Mavrak, on stage.
Yes. Sir, Dr. Anatoly Unitsky, he asked me to give you the book of his life. This book has been written by him, where he describes all his life and the main thing, all his achievements and plans for future. And I am sure that Peace World City will be part of his future, and we will be part of Peace World City's future. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tim. A good speech.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, dear panelists. May I invite you to go back to your seats, and we will move to the next session, which is the future of logistics. Thank you. Congratulations. Oleg?